Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. This is going to be the second part and maybe the final part depending on what you guys want for the armor system. Now if you didn't check out the first video, then it's very important to this series, so click the button in the top right corner and go check that out first. Today we're going to be finishing the UI. Remember last time I showed you guys how I had my UI set up. Today we're going to actually be hooking it up with the events to make it actually work. And yeah, let's get straight into it. So if you recall, in our remotes folder, we have the client folder and then the armor system folder. And we had a remote event for add inventory item, a remote event for delete armor UI, and a remote event for load inventory. Now, all we need is in our armor UI, and then in the armor inventory frame, I have a local script called inventory manager, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So we start off with our services, and we're going to need the players, the replicated storage, user input service, and tween service. Then for our modules, we just need our armor index. For our remotes, we need our server remotes, which are our equip, unequip, and delete to actually control things on the server side. And then we need our client remotes to actually connect things. Next, we need a few variables. We'll have the player, which is obviously our local player, and then references to the inventory frame, which is this scrolling frame where all the things will appear. And then we need a reference to the player preview frame so that we can update that, and then the stats overlay frame. Beyond that, we need our controls bar, and then we want the confirm delete frame. And then for as far as state goes, all we have is deleting state. For functions, we're going to once again split it into our actions and equip armor. And in the equip armor function, all we want to do is make sure that we have our armor name. Then we just want to make the stat overlay visible to false. And we want to call our server equip event. And then we want to call our update player preview function, which we'll make in a little bit. Our other action is going to be unequipping, and this time we're just going to call our unequip server event and then update the player preview once again. Now we need a few UI helpers, and this will be a create armor viewport function. And what it's going to do is make a new viewport frame, a world view, and a subject. So the subject is going to be the actual piece of armor, and we want to put that in the world view, which is inside of the viewport frame. This is what's going to allow us to actually see the armor model in the UI. And then here we just have a few checks to apply some different offsets to view the armor correctly. You might have to tweak this with your models. This changes the positions of the model within the viewport frame. So if you don't see your model in the viewport frame, it could be because of this. You'll just have to tweak these values. I recommend doing that while you're playing, and then going to the editor or going to the explorer and the properties and just tweak the values a little bit until you get something that you like. For my models, this is what I found works the best. Beyond that, we need our camera, and then we just need to apply the current camera of the viewport frame to the camera. This is actually what gives us the view into the viewport frame. And then we just want to return our viewport frame for whatever use we want it for when we call the function. Our next helper is going to be the update player preview, which is what we use in our unequip and equip armor functions. First thing we want to do is get our old frame, and if we find one, then we want to destroy it. Then we want to get our player's character, and we want to make it archivable, which will allow us to actually clone the player. Then we're going to make a new viewport frame, a world view. So same things, same principles apply as from the previous function. And then this time, instead of doing an armor, we're cloning the character and parenting it to the world view. And then once again, we need the camera. We just set a few more settings like the position and the field of view. And then we just parent it as we did before. Next, we want to check if we have our armor name. And if we do, then we want to check if it exists in the index. And if it does, then we want to make a viewport frame for the armor using that helper function we just made above. And then we want to find the parent frame for the armor previews and find the first child, which has the same data type. And then if we find something in the parent frame, that means that we are equipping something without explicitly unequipping the previous armor first. So we want to automatically unequip. So we just want to delete that frame. And then we want to make our unequip button actually work. And basically we're just going to make a new button that covers the whole thing and is transparent. And then when you click on it, it just calls the unequip function and it destroys the viewport. And then as far as mouse enter, this is detecting hovers, and that just is going to apply the stats overlay and then update the info for it. And mouse leave will just, when you stop hovering, it'll hide it again. Last thing we want to do is parent the armor viewport to the parent frame. Now we can move on to the add armor UI. And first thing we want to do is have our little checks to create a viewport frame and check if that the armor is actually a thing. Then we want to make our background. We want to change the background colors or the background settings of it. That's personal preference. Then we want to do our equip button, which is virtually the same thing as the unequip button we just made before. It's just a button that covers the entire thing, fully transparent. But this time when you click on it, well, there's two settings. Because the equip is all the things in the unequipped side of the inventory, because that's where you equip. So if we are in the is deleting mode, then we want to apply a UI stroke to it, and we're just going to give it this red color. If we find a UI stroke already, then we just want to destroy it. That means that we are trying to deselect it from being deleted. But if we don't find one, then we want to apply one, which means that we want it to get toggled as in deleting. And if we're not currently deleting, then we want to call our equip armor function and destroy the frame here. Then finally, we want to do our mouse enter and mouse leave events to show our stats frame. Our next function is just our toggle delete function. Very simple. If we are currently deleting, then we want to start deleting. Or if we are currently deleting, then we want to stop deleting. If we are not currently deleting, then we want to start deleting. Then if we are deleting, then we want to create a tween. And basically all this does is it sets the background transparency to 0 and it changes the text color and it plays. And then if we are not deleting, then we want to just do the opposite of that to set back to the default state. And then we want to clear any UI strokes from anything that we toggle during the deleting process. And then for the closing frame, if we are not deleting, and then to cancel delete, we want to set is deleting to false. Once again, we're doing that same reset tween. And then we are going to just loop through everything, clear all the UI strokes that were toggled from when we were doing things or when we were deleting. And then we want to set the close frame button prompt visible to false, and then the confirm delete frame visible to false as well. And actually, we can replace this over here with cancel delete. And then we want to have our confirm delete function, which gets all of our selections, and we loop through all of them and we insert them to a selections table. And then we pass in the selections table to our delete armor event. And then we cancel our delete, which resets everything, takes us out of deletion mode. Next, we have our function to delete armor UI, which just loops through all of the children. And if you find the armor name if in the armor names we find the child, then we want to delete the child and remove them from the table. And then we have our load inventory, and then we check if it's equipped, then we add them to then we update the player preview. And then if it's unequipped, then we just add the armor UI. Then finally, we want to connect everything. And then finally, we want to wait 2 seconds and update the armor or update the player preview when we join in. So now with everything set, if we go ahead and close this, also real quick, if you guys don't remember from the last video, I told you in the just have this little text button toggle, and it's just very simple script, just a toggle. Now if we go ahead and play this, then you can see my player preview shows up, but nothing else actually shows up, and that's because now what we have to do is go back into our armor manager, and we have to call these events that we commented out at the end of last video because we didn't have them set up yet. And now if we go ahead and join, then you can see we have these things in our inventory, and if we click on them, then they go into our little place here. So in our armor manager, we're going to delete this equip function just so that we can check. So yeah, when we load in, we have the armors that we added. Click on it and it goes into the player. You see it get equipped onto me and it appears in a preview. We have our frame showing up, and then we have our leggings that we can also use. And then with our delete button, you see we click on it, this changes to a trash can icon. This delete button shows up, and now when we click on things, you see it has the red icon, and then if we untoggle it, then it just disappears, and then we can do it again, click on the trash can, it pops up a menu, click confirm, and now it's deleted. So that might have been something I missed in showing you guys in the setup of the UI, but on the close button, we have the close button itself, which is just a text button with an X on it. And then we have a prompt delete button, which is just an image button with the little trash can icon on it that you can find anywhere. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to show you guys how to do is just make a quick little crate. Alright, so we're going to make a little crate system real quick. So in our armors folder, we're going to create a folder called crates. And then we're going to add in a module script, and this is going to be armor crate, and then we'll have another one which will be crate index. All right, so just rename that to armor crate, and then we're going to set the index equal to armor crate. Once again, this is our oops setup. We covered that in the last video. And then we're going to have a function to create a new armor crate. We're going to set the meta table, and then we're going to apply the properties that we pass in, which is going to be name, price, and weights. Weights are the system that you use to make like a chance system. And then we just want to return the crate. And then we're going to create a meta method, which is our role. And we're going to get the index, which is map.random. And then our highest rarity that we found right now is common. And then we're going to loop through every item in the self.weights. And we want to check if our index is greater than the item weight, and the item's weight is greater than the highest rarity's weight. Then we're going to change our highest rarity to the current rarity. And what this basically does is it checks if, so this assigns a random number between 0 and 1, and if this number is higher than the weight assigned to the item, and this item's weight is higher than the weight of our highest rarity item, which is this, then we want to change the highest rarity to this. Because the second part is so that we don't update the highest rarity to a lower rarity than what it's currently at. Finally, we want to get our item equal to our self.weight's highest rarity, which selects the item, and then we want to return the item. And if we do have the item, then we want to specifically return the item.item property. Otherwise, we want to return nil. And yeah, that's it for the armor crate function. Now for our crate index, we're going to add a reference to our armor crates module script and our armor index module script. And then we're just going to return a table. We'll have a crate for our cardboard box, which will just do a crate.new, which calls this the function that we just made. In it, we want to pass the name, which in this case will just be cardboard box. The price will be 100. We're not actually going to implement price because we didn't do a leader stats in here, but it's very easy. If you guys really do need help with that, just comment down below and I can help you out with that, but we'll have the price in here just in case. Then we want to make our weights table, and the common rarity is going to have an item attribute, which is just reference to the cardboard leggings. So that's going to be the most common item. We'll have a rare one, which has another weight assigned to it, which it will be the cardboard helmet. And then the most rare item to get from the chest is the legendary, which is the cardboard chest plate. And now I'm just going to do the same process for our wooden box here. And so basically the same principles, just all for the wooden items instead. And we can make this price like $250 instead. Now what we can do is we can just make a really basic crate here. We can make this, and this will be the cardboard crate, and then we can make this the wooden crate. We'll do wood planks and just brown. So that will be the cardboard one. And then this will be the wooden crate. And then all we need on here is to have a proximity prompt. So for the cardboard or the cardboard crate, we want a proximity prompt, and it's got to be named armor crate underscore cardboard box. So the prefix with armor crate underscore, and then afterwards put the name of the crate that you added in the crate index. So for us, it was cardboard space box. So that's what we're going to put after the underscore. And then we could just duplicate this, put in the wooden crate, and then change this to underscore wooden box. And then let's just update the information on this one. For us, we have requires line of sight off. You could do whatever you want. Actually, we don't need to change anything. That's fine. All right, so what we're gonna do is add a very basic proximity prompt handler script in server-script service. Okay, so per usual, we're going to start off with our services. This time we're going to need proximity prompt servers, replicated storage, and server storage. Then we'll need our reference to our modules folder, and we'll need the crate index. Then we'll need some remotes. We'll need the actually, we won't need this one, but we'll need the add armor event from our server armor remotes. And then we'll need a function for when our proximity prompt service prompt triggered. Then this gives us a reference to the prompt. So we want to check if the prompt.name is contains the armor crate underscore, which we have as our prefix. If it does, then we just want to split the name, and then the crate name, like I said, should come after the underscore, which is why we're using index of 2 here. And if we don't find a crate, then we want to just exit. Other than that, we want to choose our armor by rolling our crate. And then if we find it, then we want to call our add armor event, and we want to fire. So I have a little error right here in our proximity prompt holder, or in our proximity prompt handler. We are referencing armor.crateIndex, but it should be armor.crates.crateIndex. And then we don't need this, so we can delete this. Now everything should work. We have our two defaults that we started with, and then if we interact, then we get more. We can do the same thing for our wooden ones, and then we can equip our helmets. If we click on it, then it just swaps and the other one gets right in. And yeah, you can tell that I'm moving faster when I put the leggings on, so the speed boost is definitely working. And if we click on our humanoid and check our max health properties, then you can tell that we are getting an increased health when we are equipping new armor. And then once again, we can do our deletion, and it's deleted. Alright guys, well that will be it for today's video. If you guys want to see how to add the data store to this, then comment that down below. If not, then this will be the final part of this series. I hope you guys found this helpful and enjoyable, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe on the video and comment any other videos you want me to make down below. Thank you, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.